Are the lights of the FJ Cruiser too dim for you? If so, this is the video for you. Hey there everyone, welcome to FJX 2000 Productions and another episode of Let's FJ. My name is Hayden, and in today's video we will be looking at the various lights on FJ Cruisers, the different ways you can upgrade them, and hopefully make your life a whole lot brighter. I want to do this as a two-part series, where this video will cover all the OEM lighting on the FJ, and part 2 will be about aftermarket lighting, including the FJ's auxiliary driving lights, roof lights, and fog lights. There are almost limitless options when it comes to lighting, so I will just be mentioning the most popular choices in the FJ community. Before we begin, I want to thank all my subscribers and those who watch and support my channel. You're all incredible. The channel is currently approaching 22,000 subscribers, so thank you for your continued interest and passion for FJ Cruisers, and I hope I can continue making FJ Cruiser content you all enjoy. Please like this video if you find it helpful, and comment below what lighting upgrades you've done to your FJ Cruiser. I'd love to hear it. And remember to check out my FJX 2000 Instagram page if you haven't already. There I will post updates about videos I'm working on, as well as photos and videos from my FJ builds and adventures. You can also send me questions directly should you have them, or share photos and videos if you want a chance of seeing your FJ appear in future videos on the channel. Whatever you do, enjoy today's video, and now let's get started. The FJ Cruiser came out during an interesting era of the automotive industry, towards the tail end of traditional halogen lighting, but near the beginning of widespread HID and LED use. Early FJ builds with aftermarket lighting are notable for their use of halogens and HIDs, but today LEDs are pretty much the industry standard, in whatever form that may be, whether that's LED bulbs, LED light bars, or even LED pod lights. The FJ comes from the factory almost entirely with halogen lighting, the exceptions being certain bulbs in the dash and for the third brake light. This leaves plenty of opportunity for FJ owners to upgrade their setups and make the lighting much better. It's no secret that the FJ's halogen lighting leaves much to be desired, and driving a stock FJ at night can be scary, especially compared to modern cars and trucks with superior lighting. So upgrades are a must if you find yourself driving in the dark often. I will quickly go through the various bulbs on the FJ Cruiser, giving their bulb sizes and part numbers, so you can use this video as a resource should you need to replace a bulb. Note that there are lots of bulb numbers out there, especially if you're living in different regions of the world, so I will mostly be using the common numbering used for bulbs here in the US. For headlights, the FJ uses 9003, H4, or HB2 bulbs. These are interchangeable and all have dual filaments for both high and low beams within the same bulb. For the brake lights, 7443 bulbs are utilized. These also have dual filaments, so they are dimly lit when the marker lights are on, but shine brighter when the brakes are engaged. Brake light bulbs can be white or red in color, since the housing for them is red. The front turn signals are 7528 bulbs, which also have dual filaments, so they act as marker lights but also shine brighter when the turn signal or hazard lights are engaged. These can be amber or white since the housing is amber colored. The rear turn signals, however, are 7440 bulbs, and because the taillight for this bulb has a clear lens, these bulbs should be amber in color to have the proper appearance. And as a quick note, the taillights were updated here in the US for all 2012 plus FJs, but the bulbs are the same between all the years. The reverse or backup lights for the FJ Cruiser are 921 bulbs, and these should be as bright as possible for the best rearward visibility in the dark. The license plate lights for the FJ use 194 bulbs, and if your FJ Cruiser has mirror lights, this also uses a 194 bulb. The third brake light on the FJ is its own separate assembly with LEDs in it, and here is the part number should you need to get a new one and want to keep it OEM, but there are aftermarket options available too. And finally on the exterior, for markets outside of the US, like Australia or Japan, FJs had to meet local regulations by using different light arrangements. For example, they use fender-mounted marker lights and not the mirror lights. The part number for this assembly is on screen, and my research leads me to believe that it also uses a 194 bulb. These FJs also have different rear bumpers that have the license plate mounted in the center of it, and they have amber turn signals mounted here rather than in the rear taillight housing. They also come with red rear fog lights that can be turned on with the switch on the dashboard. The rear bumper indicator light should use a 921 bulb, same as the reverse light, and for the rear fog lights, this is a 7440 bulb. Lastly, the headlights on these FJs also have a little park light bulb at the bottom of the housing that also uses a 194 bulb. On the interior of FJ Cruisers, the dome lights are classic 31mm festoon bulbs, and if your FJ Cruiser is a 2009 or newer, then you also have front map lights, which use a 194 bulb. The switches on the FJ also have lights in them that occasionally go out, and these use a tiny bulb with the following part number. Not all switches have lights, just FYI, but the ones that do sometimes have 1 or even 2 bulbs in them. The FJ's dashboard and instrument panel also uses LED bulbs for the backlighting. These can be replaced if you want to change up the look, but it isn't too common that something will burn out. And swapping these requires careful knowledge of soldering and electronics, so it isn't a simple plug-and-play process like with the other lights. I will leave some helpful links to forum threads on this topic in the description below if you want to learn more. But with all the various bulb sizes out of the way, now we get to talk about the fun part: upgrades. When it comes to the headlights of an FJ, there are many options. One could go with the simple route and upgrade the bulb to a higher quality halogen one, or even to something HID or LED. This is the route I've gone with my FJ builds, but it isn't the recommended way to do it, as the OEM headlight housing does a poor job at controlling the spread of the beam and can blind oncoming drivers, even with the low beams. A trick to aid with this is to find the cutoff line of the low beam and use a long Phillips head screwdriver to adjust the headlight downward. But do keep in mind the limited compatibility of the dust cover on the rear of the headlight with aftermarket headlight bulbs. Some bulbs can be taken apart and reassembled with the dust shield in place, so you can still have a sealed headlight. But other brands may require the dust shield to be trimmed or cut to make them work, so you may then lose that perfect seal. The better option is to upgrade the entire headlight housing. Some will purchase retrofitted headlight housings, which are just modified stock housings, but these use projector lenses to give the FJ that modern touch and quality. Plus, they allow for tons of cool customization. Backlighting of the housing, different shaped projectors, accent lights, you name it, it's out there. There are kits that you can do this modification yourself if you're up to the challenge, or you can purchase them pre-built. Retrofitted headlights are the best option for FJ headlights, especially when used with a bi-xenon HID or bi-LED lights, just meaning they do both the high and low beams. With these housings, you'll have a nice clean cutoff line between high and low beams, and the light output will far exceed that from the factory. Another way to go is to purchase aftermarket headlight housings, many of which come with halos or other accent lights, and some even come with matching turn signals. All of these options help give the FJ that modern look, and some products even replace the whole grille assembly and kind of have a Land Rover look to them. Not exactly my style, but to each their own. Be warned, these aftermarket headlights can have mixed results in terms of quality, and they use different size bulbs than those from the factory, so do your research beforehand to see if they're best for you. Some of the lights that have halos or other accent lighting even have issues with sections of the lights burning out, and I've heard of some products where the housing melts over time if used in conjunction with HID bulbs, so make sure you find a quality product when shopping. I'd also like to note that LED lights usually produce much less heat than halogen or HID lights, so while they may be bright, in certain weather conditions they can get coated with snow or ice, which ultimately renders them useless. This is something I battle with currently, so just keep that in mind. Moving on to the front turn signals, there are many aftermarket options to choose from. Some go with the headlight turn signal combos mentioned earlier, but many replace turn signals alone if they want a different look for the FJ and don't enjoy their orange OEM ones. You can also keep the OEM housings and upgrade the bulbs to LEDs, but have you ever seen a car whose turn signals blink super fast? They call this hyperflashing, and it happens because LED bulbs draw such little power that the turn signal relay sees the bulbs as being burnt out. A few ways to get around this could be to add inline resistors to the wiring of the bulb, or to buy LED bulbs specifically designed to prevent this issue. But the simplest way is to replace the flasher relay module with one designed for LEDs, and it will keep the turn signal blink rate like it was from the factory. No more hyperflash. And this is a plug-and-play option. Check out the Smart Tap LED flasher from Diode Dynamics in particular if you want some programmable flashing patterns and other features added to your turn signals. The mirror lights on FJs are also notorious for being pretty dim, so swapping out these bulbs to LEDs makes a big difference. I have done this on my FJs and really like the look when it matches my swapped headlights. Another trick you can read about on forums is the method of removing the thin filter inside of the mirror light housing that actually reduces the bulb's brightness when in place. With it taken out, any bulb used will instantly appear a little brighter. When it comes to bulb color, a popular choice is to swap out the traditional white light with an amber one to make it more of a marker light, and I've also seen some people wire it in with their turn signals, so it becomes more of a practical feature. The popular choice recently for mirror lights has been the option from Freedom Retrofits, who sells a kit that allows the whole housing to be swapped with a pair of KC V2 Cyclone lights, complete with the mounting brackets and a module so you can make these act as blinkers. They're also available in white or amber colors, so you get to customize your FJ's look even further. For the rear of the FJ, a high priority item for any owner should be upgrading the reverse lights. In the next video I will do, we will talk about auxiliary lighting one can add, but if you keep the factory housings, a solid upgrade is to replace the stock bulbs with LEDs, like the ones offered by Diode Dynamics. They have crazy bright options, and you really get what you pay for. These will vastly improve the reversing experience and make it so you can actually see something when backing up. We already talked about the front turn signals, and the same holds true for the rear turn signals. You can swap out the OEM bulbs for LEDs, which makes them more noticeable, and you can also replace the rear taillight bulbs with LEDs for the same reason. Accessing the taillight bulbs can be a bit of a chore if your hand is too big for the access hole, and if you have the rear subwoofer in the way, that will need to be removed first. But it does make a nice difference once they're in. Yet just like the front lights, lots of aftermarket taillight housing options are available that can give your FJ a more modern or unique look. Most have their own built-in LEDs, so buying new bulbs isn't necessary, and they can come with neat features like sequential lighting bars and all sorts of cool stuff. But for those who do extreme rock crawling and don't want their OEM taillights to be picked off by rocks or trees, companies like Warrior Products sell flush-mounted taillights that eliminate this problem. They are a bit more practical than they are aesthetic though. For those who want to keep the OEM housing and make it look more like modern vehicles with halo lighting, Oracle Lighting sell LED ring kits that can be installed as long as you are willing to DIY with disassembling and reassembling the rear taillight housings. Oracle also has similar kits, but for headlights. For the interior, the dome lights, as any FJ owner knows, are very dim, so swapping them out with LEDs is an absolute must. Again, these use festoon type bulbs, and there are many replacement options out there that look close to stock. But options also exist that use an entire LED board, like the one from Diode Dynamics, and it produces the most amount of light possible for the interior of the FJ. I have these in mind and highly recommend them. As for any other light, like the map lights, license plate lights, or just whatever, these can easily be swapped with LED bulbs and make a world of difference, giving the FJ a cleaner, more modern look, and making these lights more useful and more practical. Some companies do sell complete LED housing replacements for the license plate lights, so you can keep that in mind. And like I mentioned earlier, third brake light replacement options also exist, like this brand new one from Freedom Outfitters US called the Valkyrie. The housing is 3D printed and uses 4 KC V2 Cyclone lights, just like the mirror light replacements we mentioned earlier. The really cool thing with this option is you can also order it with an integrated backup camera for folks who want to add that feature to their FJ. I may be getting this one for myself in the near future. But with that, we have pretty much covered all of the ways you can upgrade the FJ's OEM lighting to be brighter and better than how it comes from the factory. Hopefully this video was helpful and informative to you, but be sure to check out part 2 for the really fun stuff, auxiliary lighting options. I'm looking forward to that one. Thanks again to everyone who watches my channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, check out more of my informational FJ Cruiser videos, and find me on the FJ Cruiser forums or Instagram at FJX2000. But until next time, keep on FJ cruising, happy trails, and take care.